Okay. Okay, which one is this?
Test it.
Which one is it? Yeah,
just test which one. Go to the video.
what you can also do is copy the link. Okay, but okay, wait, it's coming on YouTube now. It's a different one, but you can use that as well.
That's another version.
Yeah, that's a different version and better audio.
Check the others. I think that's one from.
What is continue browsing? Just say continue browsing. Okay. And then you check on the inside.
Original.
Yeah. Go for the original one. That one, that one there, yeah. That's even worse. Just go down.
Check the next one.
Chula, just notify me when they enter. Just notify me when they enter. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Without any waste of time, I'm your program director for tonight, and I'll just run with the program without making any comments so that I don't take the time of Professor Rambe. Otherwise, he will kill me when I say time is up when I've taken most of his time at the beginning. So we'll start off with our program. By observing a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. First, in our program, I would like to call upon our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Henk Diaga, to welcome you. Over to you, VC.
Thank you, Program Director. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and also a good evening to all our listeners, either on Facebook or the internet, by joining us virtually. We're only a few in the auditorium this evening, but that is because of this pandemic that is still with us. Greetings to you all. Groete aan die almal. Kea Dumidisa Boshle Kaufela. May I extend a hearty welcome to each and every one of you to the Central University of Technology Free State. And indeed tonight we are very privileged to attend the Professorial Inaugural Address of Professor Patient Rambe, a professor in entrepreneurship. And I know I have limited time, but I must share this with you. On Saturday, we had the finals for the Entrepreneurial Matriculant of the Year competition at this campus, and Saturday evening the award dinner, where the focus is to enhance entrepreneurship amongst our school learners. This morning, we had the official launch of the Idea Gymnasium and the Fab Lab at our Welkom campus, which is a new facility that we've established to promote entrepreneurship in the Matjhabeng and Letwela Putswa district. And tonight, we have a professorial inaugural address by our expert at this university in entrepreneurship, Professor Rambe. So indeed, entrepreneurship is thriving at this university. And because of the status of this lecture, it's really like putting the cherry on the cake tonight by one of our esteemed professors. So allow me the following to just welcome the following dignitaries. Of course, a special word of welcome to our guest of honor, and that is indeed Professor Rambe. To his family, his spouse, Nyasha Rambe, a warm welcome to you. Also to his two children, Cheryl Rufaru, his daughter, a warm welcome to you. And then also to Jaden Kapushwashwe, his son, a warm welcome to you, young man. And we would also like to acknowledge you because we know the achievements of Professor Rambe are also your achievements because of the support that you provide as his spouse, Ms. Nyasha, and as well as the two children. And this is also your evening, and we celebrate it with you. Also to his friends, a family friend, Dr. Sevius Guvuriru, a warm welcome to you, Doc. And then Professor Brownheider Nene, his previous supervisor, a warm welcome to you too. And all the other friends of Professor Rambe that are in attendance, either in the venue or virtually. Also the chairperson of council, Councillor Matthew Ransu, who is joining us virtually, as well as all the other members of the University Council. To our guests from business, industry, government and society, welcome. To our executive management at this university, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Teaching and Learning, Professor Nagidi, and our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Engagement, Professor Ngowi. To the deans, and a special welcome of course, to the Dean of the Faculty of Management Sciences, where Professor is professing in the faculty, Professor Strydom. To the senior management, head of departments, department managers, our senators, academic support staff, and including our colleagues from our Welcome campus. To the CUT students, welcome to you. And then also welcome to colleagues from other universities and TVET colleges, representatives from the media houses, and everyone else that are joining us through the virtual links. Very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, the practice at CUT is that academic staff who through the university's promotion or appointments process rises to a professorial position are then invited to deliver or present their professorial inaugural address. And this address is a full sitting of the University Senate, which is indeed today the situation with a few of our senior academics with us and the other joining virtually. So CUT awards these to academics who are highly accomplished and widely recognized among their peers, and in the case of Professor Rambe, nationally and internationally. So an inaugural address is defined as the first given by someone who is starting an important job. And it could be a president, but tonight we have a professor that is delivering his inaugural address. So when one look at the definition of a professor briefly in Latin, the word really literally means a person who professes, being an expert in his or her field and an academic of high rank. The professor is reserved only for the most senior academics at any university across the globe. A professor is highly accomplished and a recognized academic, and the title is awarded only after decades of scholarly work to senior academics. If I look at the children, he's still fairly young. It wasn't so many decades for Professor Rambe, but it was at least 2, I can guarantee you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Rambe is indeed a highly accomplished and recognized academic. So, we are very proud, the CUT community, to celebrate this special occasion this evening with Professor Patient Rambe and his family and his friends. So welcome to you all once again, and I trust that you will enjoy this proceedings with us. Thank you, Kia leboha, baie dankie.
Thank you very much, VC, for the welcoming address. Can I now call upon the Dean of the Faculty of Management and Sciences, Professor Strydom, to introduce the speaker to the audience. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Professor Ngidi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really my privilege to introduce Professor Patient Rambe tonight. Professor Patient Rambe is a research professor of entrepreneurship and a co-director of the Center for Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Studies in the Faculty of Management Sciences at the Central University of Technology, Free State. He holds a PhD in Educational Technology from the University of Cape Town, a Master's in Public Administration from the University of Zimbabwe, and a postgraduate diploma in Project Planning and Management from the Christian College of South Africa. He is finalizing his PhD in Entrepreneurship at the University of the Free State. He has served in different capacities, namely lecturer in Politics and Administration Studies at the University of Zimbabwe, academic writing consultant at the Academic Development Program UCT, Assistant Director International Academic Projects at the University of the Free State, prestigious postdoctoral research fellow at the Department of Computer Science and Informatics, University of the Free State, Senior Researcher and Associate Research Professor and Research Professor here at the Central University of Technology. He is a C2 rated scientist of the National Research Foundation. He leads the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Cluster of the Higher Education Regional Development Initiative of Central South Africa. He also co-chaired the International Conference on Entrepreneurship Development Program in 2017 and 2019. Patient is the lead investigator of the Technology Innovation Agency, TIA, funded baseline study on establishing a regional innovation ecosystem to support technology entrepreneurship in the Free State Province. He conducts leading research that interfaces technology entrepreneurship, innovation ecosystems, and emerging technologies in higher education. He has successfully co-supervised and supervised and mentored or graduated 2 postdoctoral fellows, 8 PhDs, and 13 master students. He has also co-authorized and published over 130 research outputs in peer-reviewed books, book chapters, accredited peer-reviewed journals, and conference proceedings. His work is published in reputable journals such as the Journal of Social Entrepreneurship, which is Taylor and Francis listed, the European Journal of Innovation Management, Emerald, Management Research Review, Emerald, the International Journal of Business and Globalization, InterScience, African Journal of Science, Technology, Innovation and Development, Taylor and Francis listed, Journal of Enterprising Communities, part of the Emerald Group, the British Journal of Educational Technology from Wiley, Internet and Higher Education from Elsevier, Educational Technology Research and Development from Springer, the Journal of Computing in Higher Education, Springer listed, and the Australasian Journal of Educational Technology, which is ISI listed, just to mention a few. Patient has reviewed for reputable journals such as the Journal of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, also Taylor and Francis listed, Journal of Social Entrepreneurship, Taylor and Francis, Business Ethics, European View from Wiley, IS, the ranking 2017 2 from 52 ethic journals, the Digital Business from Elsevier, Management Research Review, Emerald, Computers in Human Behavior, Elsevier, British Journal of Educational Technology from Wiley, Studies in Higher Education, Routledge, Behavior and Information Technology, Taylor and Francis, Sage Open, African Journal of Business Economic Research, which is IBSS listed, and Pacific Asia Conference on Information Systems, a premier information systems conference in the Asia region affiliated with the Association for Information Systems. Prof. Rambe reviews NRF ratings, NRF to TUCA, and NRF funding applications on a regular basis. He has reviewed 15 theses and dissertations for the University of Melbourne, University of Cape Town, University of the Witwatersrand, University of the Free State, University of Fort Hare, Durban University of Technology, and the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, again to mention a few. Prof. Rambe is a recipient of 15 prestigious honors and awards, which include the UFS prestigious Postdoctoral Research Fellow Award in 2012 and 2013, the Outstanding Paper Award at the IADIS Internet Technologies and Society Conference in Australia in 2012, Established Researcher Award from NRF 2015, the Vice Chancellor's Established Research and Innovation Award 2017, 3 Best Paper Awards at the 2017 International Conference on Entrepreneurship Development, was also selected on competitive proposal writing basis to participate in the University of Cologne DART Program Proposal Training in 2018, and he was nominated for the Zimbabwe Achievers Award, the South African edition, in the category Academic Excellence of the Year Award category 2020. Patient is husband to Nyasha, as the VC already mentioned, and the proud father of Cheryl Rufaru and Jaden Ethan Kupakashwe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to request Professor Patient Rambe to come to the lectern to present his inaugural lecture.
Vice Chancellor of the Central University of Technology Free State, Prof. Henk Diaga, thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to attend this event and for giving me the opportunity to deliver this professorial inaugural address. Deputy Vice Chancellors present, Professor Albert Stridom, Dean of the Faculty of Management Sciences, thank you for appointing me to your faculty and for all the research support you have rendered over the years. Deans of other faculties present, members of MENCOM and Senate present, academics and support staff from my faculty and other faculties present, thank you for coming. HODs from all of the faculties present, members of SRC and the entire student body, communications and marketing at CUT, a big thank you for tirelessly marketing this event. Invited guests, friends and colleagues, all protocols observed. The title of my presentation is Technology Entrepreneurship of Invest Incubated Firms, a multi-level perspective. Okay, this is my presentation outline. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Lord Almighty for giving me the knowledge and the wisdom to pursue an academic career. My family present, including my parents. Thank you guys for being the bedrock of my support. I would not have gone this far without your support. I really appreciate it. And Nyasha, I love you so much. Academic supervisors, Professor Ngambi and Professor Crenso Dean from the University of Cape Town, who supervised my first PhD. Professor Nene from the University of the Free State, who is supervising my second PhD. I really appreciate them. Colleagues, especially Professor Janzo here, who has been my mentor over the years, especially in academic supervision as well as article writing in entrepreneurship. I really appreciate your presence, Prof, and your mentorship. Professor Chipunza, who has always served as the soundboard when I'm developing ideas, I always share my ideas with him. The entire faculty of the Management Sciences, Professor Shambare, whom I had an informal conversation with regards to what exactly is this beast called in the Professorial Inaugural Lecture. My postgraduate students, some of them are here present. Mpo is somewhere here. Mpo is here, graduated the cum laude, and she's doing her PhD with one of the universities in South Africa, Gibbs. Then I dedicate this lecture to my parents and my family. This is my family, this is my dad. This is my late mom. May her gracious soul rest in peace. This is Nyasha, this is Cheryl, and Jaden, Ethan Kupakwashe. This is the entire family, that's me. Sorry. I was born in Harare, and I also later worked in Harare. But I was raised in a province southeast of Zimbabwe called Masvingo. Our family exercised authority as headman, and my late mom is the granddaughter of Chief Ziki. So I can safely say that I have got a trace of traditional authority in my DNA. So this is Masvingo province. This is Bikita, where I grew up in northeast of the province. This is the city of Masvingo. We used to do some groceries here. This is Professor Dick Ngambi, Professor Crenso Dean, and that's me on my graduation day at UCT 2009. This is Professor Nene from the University of the Free State. This is my professional trajectory. Started 2009, especially in the context of South Africa when I did my PhD. Then I had a short stint at UCT, and then at UFS, like the Vice Chancellor mentioned. And then since 2014, CUT has been my academic home. My academic career could actually be summarized as follows: the formative phase, the consolidation phase, and the growth phase. In the formative phase of my career, I looked at social media and networking in higher education. The consolidation phase, I looked at emerging technologies in business and entrepreneurship. The growth phase is what I'm going to talk to you about today. In terms of the articles that I've published so far, starting with my PhD 2009, some of them I've just highlighted a sample of them. WhatsApp usage to augment academic participation, as well as enhance pedagogical delivery. The use of digital storytelling to externalize knowledge. The use of WhatsApp to support postgraduate supervision. the use of MOOCs to disrupt and democratize higher education delivery. These are some of the publications. The Australasian Journal of Educational Technology. This is Scopus publication, British Journal of Educational Technology, a Wiley journal. Internet and Higher Education, Elsevier listed. The Journal of Computing in, Educational Technology Research Development. This is a Springer Journal. Journal of Computing in Higher Education, Springer Journal. International Review of Research in Open and Distributed Learning, Scopus Journal. Helion Journal, where I published a paper on ICT self-efficacy to support pedagogical use of ICTs. This is an Elsevier journal. The British Journal of Educational Technology, again, which is a Wiley journal. I've also published books like the Vice Chancellor mentioned, the Dean mentioned. This is one of them. I have 4 chapters in that book, and I edited that book as well. I have 2 chapters in this book. I've also published 1 chapter in that Routledge journal. I've just taken a sample of them. In the consolidation phase of my academic career, which focused on emerging technologies in business, some of the articles, like I mentioned, Professor Jansi here, is here, informal distributed leadership in technology adoption, demographic and institutional variables, their impact on venture creation, a case of small technology-oriented ventures, the impact assessment of funding on technology acquisition, the use of social media broadcasting by campus radio stations, just to mention a few. This one with Professor Jansi was published in the African Journal of Science, Technology and Innovation Development. Another one, Ekta Komesai. Another one, the South African Journal of Human Resource Management. African Journal of Science, Technology, Innovation and Development, which I have already highlighted in summary. The impact assessment of funding on technology acquisition. This one was published in Emerald, Journal of Enterprise and Communities. African Journal of Science, African Journal of Business and Economic Research, a Scopus journal. The impact of innovation on agribusiness competitiveness in the European Journal of Innovation Management, which is an Emerald journal. This basically summarizes what I've just told you about all the publications that I've done over the years. The same with this slide as well, so I'll skip that one. So the other one, the Journal of Food Products Marketing, published with my postdoc. The effects of transformational leadership on organizational behavior, published in the Management Research Review, which is an Emerald journal. Another one published in my postdoc, explaining social entrepreneurship intentions among college students, published in the Journal of Social Entrepreneurship in a Routledge publication. In terms of research supervision, I've supervised, my area of supervision is interface technology on one hand and small business and entrepreneurship. For example, my postdoc, before he did the postdoc, the doctorate emphasized the impact of technology creativity on entrepreneurship intentions, the impact of social media utilization on business competitiveness, that's Dr. Mswenyane, the effect of technology transfer on agribusiness competitiveness, productivity, assessing the effects of IoT-based agriculture on knowledge management and agricultural capabilities, the effects of the adoption of smartphone applications, wearable data on effective health management, the effects of 4IR, and I know CUT is actually the forefront of 4IR, the effects of 4IR skills on entrepreneurship readiness behavior, just to mention a few. I've recently been requested to edit with Professor Chipunza to be a guest editor for this journal, a premier journal in my field, Journal of Small Business and Entrepreneurship. The growth phase of my career, which I'm going to talk about now. I'm trying to understand the technology entrepreneurship of incubated firms. So what were the question triggers? Before I did my PhD, there was a couple of questions that triggered me to do this PhD. For example, why has student entrepreneurial passion not translated into high growth-oriented ventures? Another one, what explains the absence of many university spin-offs despite universities positioning as citadels of entrepreneurial knowledge production? What explains the high startup failure despite the prevalence of sophisticated SMME support infrastructure and the existence of quadruple helix engagements? So I'm going to talk about the gist of the technology business incubation in a second. For those who are not in the field of entrepreneurship, what is business incubation? This could be described as the support that is provided to accelerate successful development of startups as well as companies by providing entrepreneurs with a wide range of targeted resources and services. TBI, which I will continue to talk about in a few minutes, what is it? It relates to creating jobs, economic growth, as well as commercializing technologies through the role of intermediaries, for example, incubators, whose sole purpose is actually to limit the transactional cost of conducting business and to promote different kinds of interaction as well as support the creation of new innovative ventures. Technology entrepreneurship, what is it? In simple terms, it's actually the establishment of a new technology venture. But a more complex definition would regard it as a project investment that assembles and deploys specialized individuals and heterogeneous assets which are intricately related to advances in science and technology to do what? To create as well as capture value for the firm. So what makes technology entrepreneurship unique? It's value creation and value capturing. Those are the main outcomes. It employs project investment as a strategy for creating that value as well as capturing that value. It employs internal as well as external individuals who are influenced and who influence advances in science and technology. The problem I try to understand, despite TBI's promise to integrate diverse kinds of resources to accelerate new startups, the success of university-based TBI, that is Technology Business Incubation, TE, remains low. But then the challenge is that there are always partial explanations as to why there's low TBI and low TE. So let us start with the individual factors. The individual factors that are often advanced for explaining low TBI and low TE, for example, lack of business skills by entrepreneurs, ineffective business strategies, the lack of risk mitigation strategies. The critique often leveled against this perspective is that it tends to ignore the institutional variables which are deemed critical to support technology business incubation. For example, the availability of resources within the ecosystem, as well as the type of incentives which are available by the incubator. Institutional level factors which affect low TBI and TE. For example, lack of access to lack of access to finance is one of the reasons. Lack of access to markets, lack of system support, lack of competent and skilled resources, human resources, the lack of business networks, the lack of physical infrastructure for the conducting and the successful execution of business activities. The critique often leveled against the institutional perspective is that it tends to overemphasize the supply side of things, in other words, what the incubator can supply to incubatees, and tends to downplay the role of individuals and environmental factors. For example, entrepreneurs sometimes lack the capacity to recognize their own resource gaps as well as to the sophistication of the incubator itself in advancing good networks which make entrepreneurship possible. Environmental factors, these are factors within the invest ecosystem which are quite useful and integral to the realization of technology entrepreneurship. But the same factors can also constrain TE. These include the capacity of the incubator to mediate on the business relationships, especially business networks, the capacity of the business incubator to mediate the peer relationship that unfold within the incubation ecosystem, its capacity to share resources, provide office space, the capacity of the incubator as well to broker partnerships and collaborations on behalf of the incubators, that is the entrepreneurs. The critique, I don't want to bore you with the critique of each and every one, but I'll just look at one of them. The supply side of the environmental explanations, the supply side, which is often emphasized by the environmental approach, tends to downplay the role of the individual factors. For example, incubators' lack of initiatives to create to look for resources within the incubation ecosystem, which creates an entitlement culture among incubators. So in summary, what I'm going to investigate today are individual factors, and these are some of them: entrepreneurial cognition, institutional factors, some of them the incentives provided by the incubator, environmental factors, the role of policy, the role of SMME funding, as well as innovation culture. The research question I sought to understand or to address was how do individual, institutional, and environmental factors that affect TBI merge to support TE, technology entrepreneurship? Right. In terms of theoretical framing, I tried to locate each theory at the individual, institutional, and environmental level. So at the individual level, there's entrepreneurial cognition theory, which tries to understand the mental models that are used by entrepreneurs when they try to make assessments and judgments about their pursuit of entrepreneurial action. The institutional theory is focused on the availability of different kinds of resources. For example, institutional, physical, social, and intellectual resources, which are availed by which are availed to either to enable as well as constrain entrepreneurial action. Then there's the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which looks at the entire environment of the incubation system. It looks at the quadruple helix relations, which may enable as well as constrain incubation ecosystems. So it also relates to how dynamic or how hostile is the incubation environment. So CUT is one of the institutions which have an incubator. We need to think about those things. So the critique, like I said, I won't bore you with the critique of each and every one of those theories, but each one of them has its own strengths as well as its weaknesses. So let me look at the individual factors. Technology business incubation, the individual factors, entrepreneurship, cognition, like I mentioned. What is it? Knowledge structure that entrepreneurs use to make assessments and judgments about opportunity identification, opportunity recognition, opportunity maximization or exploitation in support of venture creation. And then intuitive thinking. These are some of the dimensions that can be used to explain intuitive entrepreneurial cognition. Intuitive thinking, which explains gut feelings that an entrepreneur may use when they are making decisions about entrepreneurship. Heuristics, which are sometimes called rules of the thumb, or simplifying strategies that entrepreneurs use in making judgments, especially when they are confronted in situations of complexity and they have limited information, but they still have to make a decision. And then scripts. These are organized knowledge structures which entrepreneurs may use to take advantage of entrepreneurship opportunities and make entrepreneurial decisions. Then perceived entrepreneurship capabilities. This describes the entrepreneur's own knowledge, skills, and experience of starting a business as well as executing it successfully. Then, in terms of my respondents or my participants, I used two university incubation ecosystems, which comprised the following people or participants: TBI sponsors, incubator management staff, incubatees, that is the startups themselves, as well as the spin-outs, entrepreneurial champions, as well as innovation champions. Right. In terms of data, I had 3 data sources, that is in-depth interviews, focus group discussions, as well as review of literature. So I used the following for data analysis. In vivo coding, that was a qualitative study. So you can imagine in vivo coding, computer-assisted qualitative data analysis, thematic analysis, and phenomenological reduction. Right. I'll concentrate on technology business incubation for a second. The findings related to incubation selection criteria, IP and patenting, innovation norms and procedures, and manager competencies. But I'll concentrate on the first one for the sake of time. In terms of the incubation, selection criteria, when you look at the incubator sponsors, they emphasized women-owned incubators. They emphasized supporting youth-owned businesses. They emphasized supporting South African businesses which were black-owned. In terms of the business profile, they emphasized young businesses, in other words, nascent businesses, which were between 1 to 5 years old, which emphasized job creation. They emphasized increasing turnover as well as export generation. Private incubator sponsors, they emphasize cross-cutting programs. Invest Incubator A, I have 2 universities, Incubator A and Invest Incubator B. Incubator A, they admitted incubatees, but they tailor-made their support to fit a specific stage, entrepreneurial stage of the business. So there are different criteria for different stages of the business. They had a more structured and business stage-based approach to incubation selection. And Invest Incubator B, they emphasized the entrepreneurial passion as well as the commitment of the entrepreneurs to pursue the entrepreneurial process. They had a tenant-based approach to incubation, but they were in the process of transforming it to introduce diverse kinds of support. I'll skip some of the stuff because I think it's too heavy. Technology entrepreneurship, the perception of it from the incubation sponsor side, what was it about? They consider technology entrepreneurship as the creation and the sustenance of business, sustainable high-tech firms. They consider it as a commercialization of products and services, the commercialization of products and services as well. From the incubator side, they looked at technology entrepreneurship as commercialization of technology, taking innovation, successful innovations to the market, promoting sustained financial growth, sustaining investment partnerships, Invest Incubator B. They conceived TE as facilitation of technology commercialization as well as licensing of technology, as well as technology spin-outs. Technology champions, they looked at TE as the promotion of the synergy between the following: the innovation platform, the support which was given to the innovative student, as well as the innovative product. Let me skip some of the stuff. The individual factors that affect technology business incubation. Right, these were some of the factors: intuitive thinking, heuristics, scripts, entrepreneurial knowledge, business management experience and skills. We'll take each one in 10. Intuitive thinking, sometimes called instincts, how did that affect technology entrepreneurship? So participant 14 suggests that, highlight that instincts can be used to the incubatee's advantage when seeking opportunities. They employ instincts, these are incubatees they are talking about, to optimize opportunities available in the ecosystem to take the business further. The two ways that tend to describe their use of instincts are drive and passion. So drive and passion during opportunity recognition and opportunity exploitation. Then, I think that is participant 11. I think people over-rely on gut feelings, even though at some point everyone must decide on a gut feeling. Probably 10%, every 10% of our business incubation is gut feeling and 90% is logic. So they use logic more than intuitive thinking or gut feeling. I believe entrepreneurship is about earning insight using logic, business systems, and processes to make good decisions. So it's about gaining insights about the business to build a great business. Intuitive thinking, using gut feeling is not something that incubators would encourage incubatees to do. They may have gut feelings regarding their intended activities, but entrepreneurial traits and objectivities are important. So objective reasoning is more important than intuitive thinking. We coach our incubatees to create a team with technological know-how to run a technology business. It is difficult for non-technical entrepreneurs to run technical businesses. So that gut feeling to find services by themselves becomes a challenge. So regarding the operation of technology business, gut feelings are a contradicting factor because TE is a new ballgame. So technical knowledge and product development teams are more important than because people were struggling to use intuitive thinking for what they were doing. Scripts, which I have also mentioned, most incubatees, participant 14, most incubatees identify where they are in the technology development stage. We have a customized program which we designed to cater for that specific stage. We have a different project plan for each stage, and they can employ scripts at any stage. So scripts could be applied at different stages of the incubation process or project stages. We move, the more entrepreneurs use scripts, the more scripts can be administered in a thoughtful way. The higher the chances of success of incubatees. Incubatees must make good decisions within the startup environment by applying scripts. So scripts were often used for prudent decision making. Incubatees use scripts in advancing business development. Incubatees' use of scripts in advancing business development varies depending on the background and expertise of the incubatee. That is why incubators must understand where their incubatees are regarding the business knowledge to tailor-make their incubatee program according to their needs. So the effects of scripts on TE will vary based on incubatees' experience. So their incubatees could apply them depending on their level of knowledge. Heuristics, sometimes they're also called shortcuts. Heuristics may delay the commercialization process because they could affect the speed to the market of products and could could result in financial losses. Using shortcuts means that you design the process, then it collapses, and then you incur additional costs. So the use of heuristics can result in product challenges in product launches and resulting in product failures. Heuristics means incubatees rely on their experiences. If you have 20 years of incubation experience, education experience, and you are building a business, an edtech company, you can use heuristics knowledge to make better decisions. So heuristics, they require a lot of knowledge and experience. You can't just say, I'm going to use heuristics today. We use heuristics in product development. When developing new products, we employ existing prototypes which we developed before, or use the same product for a different application or a different value proposition. So they could actually use heuristics to improvise during product development. We use, these are incubatees which we are talking about. Using heuristics has really increased my revenue, the revenue of my business, because having financial management fundamentals make me conscious of the cost and revenue management. I have learned to delegate marketing roles to marketing experts. So it has helped them to consolidate their business operations, the use of heuristics. So it's quite useful for TE. Institutional factors, I'll run through them. There were physical capital, social capital, intellectual capital. Physical capital, Dr. Gurio is here, he knows economics better than me. These are assets that are used in production and they are manufactured by human beings. Social capital, these are the aggregate of resources that are linked to the possession of a durable network and of institutionalized relations of mutual acquaintance. Intellectual capital, these comprise the knowledge and knowing capability of a social collectivity. Let us look at each one of them. How did they manifest themselves and how did they relate to technology entrepreneurship? From the sponsor side, they used information portals. We have portals where entrepreneurs register their business and find possible funders. So the portal also hosts solution seekers and solution founders. So the use of portals was one of the physical capital resources that they had, especially the sponsors. While it helps to have physical presence for incubatees during the pandemic, it is unnecessary. All our programs can be administered online. That was even pre-pandemic. We wanted incubatees to, that is the entrepreneurs, to come in and go as they were very busy. Then that is University Incubator A. We have a fabrication facility that works in proximity to the incubator, providing technical assistance that incubatees would not normally get at home. Incubatees have access to the office, telephone, internet, and working spaces to enhance their business operations. So there's all this emporium of resources that would be available to support technology and entrepreneurship. The use of physical capital, or the availability of physical capital, it enabled us to accomplish many things in the past 2 years. Without physical resources, and we could have matched capital expenses in product development. So the provision of physical capital by the incubator assisted in in expenditure reduction. It was easy for me to send emails, develop and scan documents from the office provided by the incubator. But my digital skills I've developed during my incubation period improved my business operations. So they were beginning to digitize their business through the provision of physical capital. So physical capital is extremely important. Let me skip some of them. The provision of innovation-rich portals. Whenever there's a business opportunity, we post it on our website and our social media pages. Any entrepreneur entering the system will access the business networking opportunities. We have created a platform that is called the Innovation Rich Portal, and many incubatees can access this. So it was actually a platform where incubatees and incubators would actually interact to access resources and marketing opportunities. Social networking is not something that we pursue because we optimize the 3 challenges: strategic goals of the business, the management of the business, as well as financial aspects. So this was a private incubator. They had other priorities. They didn't emphasize the issue of innovation-rich platforms much, but they had completely different focus. The provision of social networking resources help in the entrepreneurial process. Though incubators do not need to have social networking to make the whole process of entrepreneurship work, but their availability expedites the process. So it's quite useful. it expedites the entrepreneurial process. The provision of social capital has affected our incubators positively because through networks they have built, they have gained experience on their future activities. So it helps in supporting the entrepreneurial learning process as well as access to mentorship. Let me look at intellectual capital. Our incubators ask us when they are looking for intellectual opportunities, they take them. We have a long relationship with them. Our relationships started 15 years ago, and we still have them with our entrepreneurs, and they update us regarding their technological needs. So let me look at the entrepreneurship, the environmental factors. National policy recognize the importance of technology entrepreneurship. There's a strong push for supporting SMMEs and startups. I can only speak for our entrepreneurship innovations policy as it relates to entrepreneurs we mentor. There's a low casualty rate for COVID pandemic among the incubators that we support. Funding. There's a strong push for SMME development and support in our organization as SMMEs create more jobs and scale faster than other sectors. We have policies and support stations through which SMMEs are funded in the startup process. But however, that has changed during the COVID because of lack of physical contact. The national policies that support entrepreneurship and STI, that is science, technology, and innovation, are guiding us in establishing quadruple helix relations that support the development of a knowledge community. So if your university has got a CNC machine, and we can request the network to train startups on CNC, the bank can then fund the training of CNC, and the TTO, Technology Transfer Office, can then facilitate the commercialization of technology. Okay, let me quickly get to the innovation culture. The culture of innovation is already part of our regional ecosystem. So the better the innovation culture, the better the technology entrepreneurship. Having the innovation culture in the region has helped in the creation of startups. Regional innovation culture, let me read this one. I think because there is a dominant culture of innovation, we need application developers at some point. Quite a number that we can choose from. So they could use that for application. They could use them for application development. In summary, I could say heuristics were quite useful from the incubator side, but from the incubator side, sponsors tended to de-emphasize them. Sometimes they even discourage them. The incubators often require their incubators to deploy evidence-based as well as decision-based, decision-driven or data-driven decision-making regarding the creation of ventures. Sponsors actually argued that there were few processes that could actually be ideally suited for the use of heuristics, but some were not necessarily useful. For example, in product development as well as the certification of products by South African Bureau of Standards, you can't do shortcuts there. Scripts. They were commonly deployed by incubators with strong support at different stages. There was also a general consensus that the knowledge base of incubators ranged from low to moderate, and incubators conceived academic entrepreneurs to be very intellectually gifted when it comes to technical knowledge, but they were lacking in terms of entrepreneurial skills and knowledge. Physical capital. The public incubation sponsors, they provide different kinds of support, equipment, technology, and machinery. Another incubator, another sponsor did not provide funding, but they just provide the support to the incubation system. Both incubators provided a wide range of resources, but none provided direct funding to incubators. Incubator B, however, helped incubators in the funding processes. Intellectual capital, there was a range of intellectual capital provided from IP to patents to accounting, human resources, among others. But however, Incubator B noted that despite the incubation coherent structure, the design of the incubator, the incubation program was faulty because they hosted tenants. Public sponsors emphasize the presence of multiple national institutions that would facilitate entrepreneurship policy. They felt that entrepreneurship policy had a role to play. For example, it was manifesting itself in the use of applied research at the institution, the commercialization of outcomes. Incubator B felt that entrepreneurship policy was quite invisible and its direct impact was often invisible. I'm almost at the end. Regional funding. The challenge, both incubators and incubators felt that there was no regional funding at the regional level, and therefore technology entrepreneurship suffered in the process. Incubators sometimes they bypassed the region and they applied it national level because through the support that they got from incubators. In summary, this is what I can say. For successful incubation to happen, we need to fully appreciate the role of the incubator itself in terms of providing the incubation selection criteria, IP and patenting issues, the competence of the manager of the incubator, the norms and procedures. But more importantly, we need to take cognizance of everything that is provided in the entrepreneurial environment. For example, entrepreneurship cognition, the perceived entrepreneurship capability, that is the knowledge, skills, and capabilities of the entrepreneur. And we also need to take cognizance of what is provided by the entrepreneur in terms of physical, social, and capital resources. And then at the national level, we need to take cognizance of policy and incubation, the process of incubation. So when these individual factors, institutional factors, and environmental factors work together in support of technology business incubation, chances are high that technology entrepreneurship will happen. So in summary, incubators need to advise incubatees in situations where heuristics could be useful, because there was a general lack of acknowledgement that heuristics would be important for incubation processes. We need entrepreneurial leadership training. It's quite important to facilitate the commercialization of technology. We need the commercialization of IP and patents, and we need to scale it up and roll it out to increase the competitiveness of product. Perhaps pre-incubation needs to be expanded so that by the time incubators come into the incubator, they are already incubator ready. And then there's need for knowledge spillovers between the academia as well as to support partnerships to support product commercialization. And the threshold of regional funding needs to be improved, because incubators tended to apply at national level when the region, they could as well have applied at the regional level. And lastly, the entire incubation and innovation ecosystem needs to be revamped so that there's knowledge exchange, there's innovative support, and the commercialization, which is actually the heartbeat of commercialization. I thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rambe. We agreed on 40 minutes, and you took exactly 40 minutes on the dot. Thank you very much. And I will now call upon Professor Ngowi to do the congratulations and word of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You'll agree with me that the expert was talking about the entrepreneurship. May I request you to give him another big applause? You should also agree that this was heavy stuff. So let me try to digest it with the risk of falling short of what the expert has said. But then allow me to put context first. We all know CET Vision 2030 says that the CET is going to be a leading African University of Technology, leading the future through innovation. We have pursued this ideal for quite some time, where we developed innovation and entrepreneurship strategy. That is about 5 years ago. And out of that strategy, we managed to develop innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. So you might have heard of what we have as the Idea Gym. You have heard of Fab Lab, which the VC mentioned here. You might have heard of what we call PDTS, where products are developed we change your idea to a product we can take to market. Then we have CRPM, where you use a modern technology, 3D printing, in order to do the same before you go to the market. And then we have QTs, where it helps us to incubate those ideas and actually to commercialize what come out of this process. So that is the ecosystem which we have. And we have also said that this ecosystem is not only for CUT, staff and students, it is there for community. And we went further than that then. What the VC mentioned here, we have gone to schools to prepare students in order to, when they come to university, they already have ideas of entrepreneurship. And in our ecosystem, we start from people who have no idea of entrepreneurship to where we have Professor Rambe. So that span, all of it we occupy it. So what Professor Rambe has put here is the other end of what CUT is doing. So let me say that innovation and entrepreneurship is in our NDA. So we all also know that there is the so-called fourth industrial revolution, where technologies, whether we like it or not, they are going to carry most of the work which we are doing today. Where you have manual work, technology, machines are going to do it better than ourselves. So it will be wasting your time to do it manually, because the machine can do it better than yourself. But one thing which is very clear is that the innovation and entrepreneurship is not going to be done by a machine. You can write all algorithms which you want, but they cannot match human innovation or entrepreneurship. So it is like coincidence then that CUT, we chose that path 5 years ago plus, that the innovation and entrepreneurship is going to be our India, and we have found that we are on the right path. The fourth industrial revolution is not going to affect us. We are marching forward. So having said this then, let me just, after putting the context, let me try to summarize what the expert said. Okay, the key argument here are three. Number one is that the individual, institutional, and environmental factors are all partial. They are the incomplete explanation for both technology business incubation and technology entrepreneurship. That is one of the key arguments. The second key argument is that an integrated perspective of explanations for technology business incubation and technology entrepreneurship demands one to appreciate a combination of factors, their sequence, and how synergy come into play. That how can we make technology business incubation and technology entrepreneurship possible in synergistic way. And then the third argument which was raised here is that the theories that explain technology business incubation and technology entrepreneurship must be conceived in terms of their complementarities, not isolation, which are critical in overcoming their individual limitations, as I mentioned the three factors. So those are key arguments. Then what is the takeaway from this lecture? Number one is that the main factors that affect technology business incubation and technology entrepreneurship are, first of all, individual entrepreneurial cognition. We must recognize that. If it's not there, then we are limited. And then the social capital and intellectual capital, as well as the environmental factors. These are very important. And you could see Professor Rambe mentioned those, how are they affecting our entrepreneurship ecosystem. Then the takeaway number two is that at the individual levels, heuristics, or it's a shortcuts, that's a better word for us. Shortcuts tend to be discouraged by both incubators and sponsors, even though incubatees employ them considerably. So the shortcuts is what the incubatees want to do. But the sponsors and the others, they want to discourage them. And the professor, when he came to the end, he said, no, we must look value of the heuristics. Then the number three, regional funding instruments. The culture of innovation was nascent but vibrant in region where University Incubator A is located. Here we say now there was innovation. Although it was nascent, for Incubator A, you have innovation taking place. But for when to come now to Incubator B, there was limited evidence of innovation in the location where Incubator B is. So the keyword which you see it is push forward in our Vision 2020 of innovation. You say in Incubator A there was some evidence, but in B there was no evidence. Then what are the outcomes for that? You say then that the incubators whose institutions have greater infrastructural capacity to attract funding tend to secure national funding, especially at the national levels, bypassing regional funding structures, as these have limited funding capacity. He explained very well here that you become attractive at the national level, you get the funding, then you ignore your regional level. Of course, there are consequences for doing that. And then they say the depth of innovation is lacking in entrepreneurial ecosystems where Incubator B is located. It can be improved through a clear focus on patents, IP, industrial designs, and increased commercialization of outcomes, that you can increase it. And finally, the final takeaway of this speech, of this lecture, is that investments in and lengthening of the pre-incubation stages could immensely benefit incubators and incubatees, that is the entrepreneurs, in the incubation and post-incubation stages. You remember I talked about the pre-incubation as an important stage. To increase the depth of innovation, development of high-growth technology startups, and facilities for commercialization of outcomes. So, ladies and gentlemen, there were 3 arguments, and those were takeaways from the presentation which he made. So, allow me then to put some few acknowledgements. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Vice Chancellor, who, despite all the heavy work which is doing, all challenges we are facing at CUT, he has been able to put the academic project as the core business. And he has not wavered from that one, the full support which is in front of us. So may I request you to give him a big applause for this. I've already thanked our presenter, because without him, we wouldn't be here. So let me again thank you, Professor Rambe, for putting some knowledge in it. I learned a lot here. The things which I didn't know how to connect, I got to know them. So please, if you can give me a big applause for that. I also want to recognize, again, your family. You have done very well to grow this such a high-powered professor. And also the children, I know there are some times when they want to play with daddy, but daddy is filled up in your computer. So with that one, that effort you put in, can we give them a big applause, please? Thank you very much. Then I would like to acknowledge my colleague, the DVC Teacher and Learning. We try our best to try to combine our teacher and learning and what happens in our Fab Lab and in the ecosystem to try to bring entrepreneurship. I said we started 5 years ago, and what you see today, and what the VC mentioned, that on Friday we had the youth having a celebration of competition. This morning we had the launching of iGym and the Fab Lab in Welcome. We are going to have one for Bluefontaine. When we see those things today, you may think they just came in. But please agree to me, this is a job which started 5 years ago, and it has been growing until we reach this stage. So with that one, I would like to acknowledge my colleagues, Professor Njidi, for that purpose. Then also, of course, DVCs cannot think alone. You can't implement because you don't have resources. So we have deans who own the resources. All the staff who fall under the faculties. If we say, come to the iGym, we must go through the dean, otherwise they don't allow them. So with that one, my request will be give a big applause to the deans and the faculty. Then, of course, we have HODs and staff from the different faculties. Please, we recognize your presence here, and we give a big applause for that. There are those like students and the other members who are not in the faculties, and they found wisdom of coming here to listen to the guru in entrepreneurship. We commend you for that, and we give you a big applause. Then I would like to thank Communication Marketing. They did a really good advertisement of this work. We have few people here, but I can assure you we have thousands of people who are looking, who are listening to what we are doing. So now we are going to the next level of our digital transformation, where we say we have people in the cloud and there are people down in the earth. So together we can work to it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. So I think before I sit down, I will be asked to give this award. And for that, I would like to request the Vice Chancellor, please, to come in front, and Professor Ngidi, so that Professor Rambe appears, that the management, the executive.
No, yes. 1 minute. Oh, yes. One without mask, one with a mask. Yeah. Then you show the one with must put one with a mask on the website. Now you smell inside the mask. Why the one with the mask?
Prof, I don't think your job is done. Give us direction. What's going to happen after this? Then you confused us. Then I think we are all invited to the foyer for refreshments. But before you stand up, or before you leave, please stand up while the procession leaves the hall. I request the VC to lead the procession.